Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. Somebody in the comments on a recent video asked me a question about what I thought the safest investments in Magic were. And I guess first I would have to define what safe means. And so that's very subjective. I would say safe is you can expect an investment to not be worth less in 3 years than it is today. So, over any 3 year period, you expect for it to go up in value or at least hold value, though that would be pretty unlikely over a term like 3 years. It's going to be pretty rare that something's worth exactly as much in 3 years as it is today. And so, that's what I would say a safe investment is by definition. And this is going to be a good video because it allows me to get into something else I've been wanting to talk about, which is the difference between investing and speculating, which is its own entirely subjective definition. And so, what are the safest investments in Magic? Well, of course, number one, the gold standard is Power 9. The original Moxes, Black Lotus, Time Twister, Time Walk, Ancestral Recall. And those will always gain value faster than anything else out there. And it's the safest because they will never be reprinted. There are so few in existence. And man, people who have them are not letting go of them. And so if you can get one, or if you have one to offer for sale, it's always going to fetch higher and higher and higher prices as time goes on. After that, I would say old sealed product, and specifically Golden Age product, which is typically defined as sealed product during the era of the reserve list. And so this would be sealed product through Urza's Destiny, which was the last set that they had reserve list cards in. And again, these are the kind of items that will just outpace almost everything else in the market on a consistent basis forever. After that, I kind of have a tie between two things. It would be reserve list cards that are not Power 9, and it would be Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and potentially revised singles. And so there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, there are some reserve list cards, like, I don't know, Curse Scroll, that are better to invest in than some Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and potentially reserve or revised cards, like, say, Benelish Hero. But the opposite of that is true too. You would much rather have an unlimited Wheel of Fortune than you would a Diamond Kaleidoscope. So there's kind of exceptions all over the place. There are worthless cards within each of those groups, and there are absolute amazing, valuable cards within both of those groups too. So don't take it too much to heart, but consider the individual cards. So then, after those two groups, I would say the next safest group of Magic cards is out-of-print sealed boxes that are post-Golden Age. So what was the next one after Urza's? It was Mercadian Mass. So Mercadian Mass basically through what's the most recent thing to go out of print? Is it Commander Legends, I guess? And the reason that I kind of lump all of those together, even though it's kind of imprecise, is that things can happen while a set is in print that increase the uncertainty of what it might do long run. And so if a set is super popular, super unpopular, or a warehouse burns down, or a global logistics crisis happens, or, there are various things that are unpredictable as long as the set is still in print. But as soon as the set goes out of print, all that kind of stuff is baked in, and we know it. And so you can't have any more of those shenanigans that can interrupt the printing process in one way or another. So after out-of-print post-Golden Age sealed product, I would say in-print sealed product that is randomized in nature. And what I mean by that is stuff like booster boxes, but not any type of constructed sealed product. So sealed product where you don't know the exact cards you're going to be getting. And after that, I would say commander decks and other constructed sealed product, potentially things like challenger decks. And this is kind of where the demarcation of investing ends. And of course, when we get into a discussion of investing versus speculating, investing is when you're making a long term bet on a good quality thing that will go up for fundamentally good reasons, for reasons that will persist in the long run. You're not making erratic bets on short term catalysts or emotions. And so investing tends to be slower, but less uncertain and smaller gains, but it's almost as if you're guaranteed to get small gains over the long run instead of taking a highly risky gamble on big gains right now whose downside is you lose everything. And so that's fundamentally the difference between investing and speculating. And it's here on the list that I really think we kind of start to transition from investing in Magic cards to speculating on Magic cards. And the most transitional of those types of bets would, of course, be Secret Lairs. Secret Lairs are interesting because I think some Secret Lairs will age really well. Things that are big name tie-ins like, what was it, Walking Dead, things like potentially Harry Potter, or, eventually we'll probably have a Marvel or a Capcom tie-in, something like that. So those kind of things will age like wine. But you'll have ones like the one about cats, all these silly ones that are kind of pandering, and they're probably not going to age well because nobody is really that interested in them to start with. And I think that if you bet big on Secret Lairs, you're going to have some absolute grand slams, but you're going to have a lot of just duds that kind of piddle around and don't really make good long-term returns. And so that's why I place Secret Lairs kind of here as the transitional ground between investing and speculating. And then beyond this, we get into things that are truly speculative investments, old singles, kind of like these. But old singles where they're not reserve list, the only thing they have going for them is nostalgia maybe. They're not alpha, beta, unlimited, or potentially revised. They're just old, and people might want to get them for fun, but, there may be lots of reprints with modern frames that exist for them, and it's really a bad bet to bet on them because you're betting on people's emotions. You're betting that somebody's going to come along and say, I really love that old Sarah Angel artwork in the original frame, and I hope that I can turn that into, I hope that other people will suddenly realize they love it too, and they'll come along and want to buy it from me at a higher price. That's highly speculative and not likely to work out. In the rare times that it does work out, it probably won't undo all the losses you incurred on the times it didn't work out. So then the next group is banned cards. And yeah, I have a whole lot of copies of Crusade because I love the card, and because when I bought it, I was buying it on Card Market in Europe at about $2 per copy. And so there was an instant arbitration opportunity. And so in general, though, banned cards, I just really don't think those are good investments. No one's ever going to decide that the Gypsy card is some kind of great thing they want to invest in. I have dozens of copies of it just from all the bulk 4th and 5th edition I've bought over time, and I don't expect them to ever be worth anything. I don't think anyone's ever going to, sell big sets of all of the Hurt Feelings banned cards and the cards from artists who said things that got them banned and got their art banned. I just don't see that as being something that a lot of people are interested in. I think a lot of people will try to virtue signal and say, I'm interested in this and I'll collect the card to show that, I'm on the side of whatever. But I don't think that's a good investment thesis. So that's down there near the bottom. And the worst thing you can probably guess that I would say you could invest in is modern singles, because again, they'll just be reprinted to death. You're basically betting that they'll be picked up as popular cards in Commander, or if you get really lucky in standard, maybe they'll be popular in there for a few years. You can dump all the cards that you spec'd on. But again, it's like playing lottery tickets or the casino. You might get lucky once in a while, but in the long run, you will always lose money betting on those kind of things. So that's the list in order, my opinion. There's some other things in there that I didn't include because they're kind of fringe things. I obviously think there's a special place for reserved list foil cards. And I think that's a really interesting topic because there were only two expansions where the reserve list overlapped with foil cards even being a thing in Magic, and that was Urza's Legacy and Urza's Destiny. So Urza's Legacy was the first set with foil cards, and then Urza's Destiny, the very next expansion, was the last set that had reserve list cards. There were only 23 reserve list cards between those two sets. So there's only 23 cards that can possibly be reserve list and foiled. And I think that's kind of this interesting intersection of things that make cards valuable, that make those particular cards really interesting as a collector's item and potentially as an investment. But I didn't really think it belonged on the list because there's only 23 of them. So stuff like that. Eventually here we're supposed to be getting uniquely serial numbered cards. Who knows where that will end up on this list long term? I'm not sure. I suspect there will be enough people who think that's a really cool idea for them to get pretty high on the list. They will be very unique, and I guess we should expect them to kind of be like reserve list or better. So let me know what you think, if I left off any big groups, or if you think there's something grossly out of order, or you have another question, let me know. If you like this kind of content, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade, and I'll be talking about Unglued sometime.